Donkey Kong's Crash Course is a cute little Nintendo Land attraction, originally pitched to be based off of Excite Bike or 1080 snowboarding before getting a DK coat of paint.
You unlock the old school.
The player controls a little barrel cart and has to use the Wii U gamepad to tilt their car through the end of a 10-stage obstacle course without flipping it over and causing it to crash. It's a charming little test of focus, taking the tension of balancing on a tightrope and applying it to a platformer layout, with some trial-style momentum for good measure. However, while its momentum-based gameplay isn't quite a solid match for the Donkey Kong arcade game, this little side mode does something even better. Emulates the feeling of an arcade experience in the modern age. The exact feeling of an arcade is a really tricky thing to recreate. You've got machines of various shapes and sizes all vying for your attention. With control schemes, you gotta be able to instantly understand or risk wasting your money. And when you get there, the game has to be good enough that you're willing to fail at it to spend more of your time and money on it instead of just moving on or playing Time Crisis. Time Crisis is always good.
Action!
It's a very vicious cycle that doomed more than a few titles, and evokes a very specific kind of motivation. The idea of making just enough progress to move forward, but making every mistake feel debilitating. And you gotta make retreading old ground not too dreadful of a prospect to steer players away. Donkey Kong was exceptional at this. You've got a very easy to understand control scheme where you move around and jump. Jumpman feels incredibly limited and rigid, so every leap feels like a major commitment. And the original barrel scene gives you plenty of time to see everything that's coming at you and steel yourself mentally to ascend. It'll take players a few lives to get up there on the first attempt, but they're likely gonna end up at least getting to the area directly underneath the big ape. With victory only a ladder or two away, it's not hard to get them hooked. Put a few more coins in, and scale up 25 meters. Then you have the Pie Factory, which looks daunting but can be cleared pretty easily and reliably. And boom, 75 meters, a challenge and a half. A wall that most players are gonna bash their heads against over and over as they tumble off of platforms and get nailed with jumping jacks to their doom. But they've already come so far, they might as well see the game through to the end. So, they adapt. Get better at 25 and 50 meters as they continue. Learn shortcuts to make 75M just a bit faster and less daunting. Figure out how to maximize points to get the most out of their lives. And make it to that final showdown with the big ape. And after they send him tumbling, they can just be done with it as the boards loop. But the courses have gotten even harder. Why not flex and see how far they can push it and get the highest score possible?
Yeah.
The game is a brilliantly paced series of trials, alternating between intense action and relief, letting a player both rush into challenges and dread struggling with obstacles in equal measure, making every last waggle of the joystick and press of the button feel like a huge commitment. And it's this emotion that Donkey Kong Crash Course strives to bring out in players. Crash Course is a rather unassuming cabinet in the arcade that is Nintendo Land, surrounded by more impressive attractions like Zelda's Battle Quest and Luigi's Ghost Mansion, as well as weirder novelties with Takamaru's Ninja Castle and Octopus Dance. And its humble pegboard design does little to obscure that fact. However, behind the unassuming facade lies Nintendo Land's most deceptively challenging game. One taking every opportunity in its design to harken back to the arcade classic. The first two areas of the board are very straightforward. only capable of flipping over a cart that's either way too cautious going over edges or way too reckless leaping off of them, and serves as a great introduction for the game's controls. Every tilt of the gamepad has to be with purpose, a dedicated motion in one direction. Cowarding out or charging ahead blindly will result in almost certain death. A feeling not unfamiliar to the limited movement of Jumpman. And from there, the board looks to do everything it can to twist these emotions. New gimmicks like alternating bridges, elevators the player can blow into, and unfurling girders are introduced, always giving the player a chance to toy with them for a moment before letting them commit to a tilt. And they're nerve-wracking obstacles too. Stop playing with them too soon, and they'll gladly hook or flip your cart and leave it dangling desperately until a reset is required. Jumps are added in, the game encouraging the player to be brave and rush forward, but not too recklessly as to crash and burn. These springy platforms toward the end are mean and will give you anxiety, but always give the right rush of adrenaline when you nail a jump. Every single obstacle in the crash course is given importance, the player not in the most complete control of their character, having to devote themselves to momentum anytime they want to make a move, and every mistake a grave one. If the player loses all their lives, they have to start the course over after all, and that's an investment equal to the Kong classic gobbling up another quarter. But just like the ape of old, replaying the crash course after mastering it feels great. Bananas are plentiful, letting a player who knows earlier parts of the board gobble up bonus fruit for extra lives down the line. Familiarity breeds confidence, and players will find themselves speeding through areas that gave them so much trouble just minutes before. Heck, a player might even drop off of ledges and discover shortcuts, using the unique grip of their cart's wheels to hang off of girders and access areas more quickly, letting them aim for that high score. And when you finally get to the end of the track, oh man, that is an accomplishment. The fruits of your labor, your perseverance, and all that tension you accrued being released all at once. And then the board shifts to let you in a secret door, and you flip over to the B-side, and oh god, there's more. The second board is even more dastardly, testing the player's knowledge of how all the moving pieces the first board introduced work together, constantly flipping the terrain over itself, even requiring the cart to live on the edge and zipline across big gaps, or tumble off of a cliff helplessly. It is an anxiety nightmare. But you want to see Big Monkey fall and hit head, don't ya? Yeah, Big Monkey hit head so good. And that's about it. The game loops to even harder versions of each board for a player to tackle, but they've already got to taste the sweet success that only a classic arcade game can match by the time they see DK go crashing down. Donkey Kong's Crash Course is able to take all of the elements that made the original so great. The tension, the dedication, the feeling of dreading every single mistake, the pacing of challenges, the sense of mastery when you get your movement pattern down, and marries it to the technical novelty it's sold on in its gyro controls to get at the heart of what makes arcade-like experiences so great. It's not enough to just emulate the gameplay style of arcade titles. If you play a game that's like Galaga or Donkey Kong, you're not going to have the same kind of thrill or trepidation as when you first tried to survive the originals. But by combining a new control scheme with that constant feeling of slow progress, you get a cute little mode that's as addictive and charming as it is a strong send-up to its original. Not bad for something that didn't even have the DK brand on its conception. Not bad at all.